All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for stopping in. I just wanted to get started here this morning. Yesterday, I started out with my first live on YouTube here, and I was having a few little technical difficulties, some things I wasn't that familiar with, but I think I got them all locked down. So if you guys can type in the comments to let me know if we're getting good audio. Hopefully everything is coming through clearly. All right, well, let's get to it. So anyway, guys, this morning, like many mornings, I look at different things that I want to test edit, and I usually start editing, for you guys for the live shows. I usually put together, content that I'm going to use. But today I want to do something a little bit different. I really want to look at some of the images that I've done in the past, and I want to create some black and whites. Now, many times, for your clients, they're going to ask you to create, different versions of an image. It may be old school sepia, black and white. It could be selective color. Yes, people still want selective color, where there's only one color present in the image, but, it is what it is. If they want it and you can do it, it's a client. Give them what they ask for. All right, guys, so let's look at one of the images that I have here. This is from a boudoir style shoot for a lingerie line. Most of you guys have seen these images before. Usually, like I said before, the first things I do with a lot of these images is I go in and do my base corrections here in Capture One. I'll adjust my exposure. I'll adjust the contrast a little bit to see exactly where I want this to fall. And I may go in and adjust the white, the brightness just a little bit. And then usually my last thing that I'll do in Capture One, if I don't do a lot of work here, is just do a final crop. And then that's what I'm going to be sending over to Photoshop. So let's just do that. And then we're going to send that image over to Photoshop. And we're going to edit in Photoshop 2021. We have a 16-bit file. It's going over as a TIFF at 300 dpi. Now, if you were opening this image from Camera Raw, you would see basically the same settings. If you were opening this image in, for instance, Lightroom, it would be basically the same. So we'll just wait for the image to pop up, which should be... Did the image not come over? Oh, I see what it did. It sent it over to the iPad. So let's drag that back over. So here's our image. Now, many times when I'm editing, if I'm not using the iPad as a monitor, I will sometimes use it as an input device, meaning that I will use it to do the touch-ups, if I'm doing frequency separation or something like that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create a split view version of the image. So what this does is it allows me to edit on one, and whatever I do on image A will also appear on image B. So I'm going to move this one over to the iPad, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. So now it's transferred over to the iPad. So then that'll allow me to do touch-ups on the iPad as well as work, depending on which tool I'm using, So if I'm zooming in here and I'm looking at, certain things that I want to improve upon, or if I see some imperfections that I want to take out, it's going to be a lot faster and more precise to do it on the iPad because I have more control using the pen than I would have if I was using just my hands, So if I zoom in on this image, give you an idea. Now the iPad can be kind of temperamental at times when it comes to like zooming in and stuff like that. And you just kind of got to get used to, what you have to do to make it work. See how it kind of moves all over the place? Because this is not an actual, this tablet is really not designed for this type of editing, but you can still do it. So if I go and create, say, a duplicate layer, I'm just going to do Command J, And then I can still go in here and I can zoom in on this image, to do my touch-ups. But like I said, that's not always the best way to do it. Sometimes if you're doing it, with just your fingers, you're going to get a much better result if you don't have a Wacom tablet or something like that. So, like right now I'm having some issues with the iPad, and I think this because it's beta software. I'm such a nerd, I have to run, oh, I know what it is. There we go. So again, I can zoom in here and I already can see, areas that I want to start to clean up. Now, like I said, all the time I won't be using the iPad, which I'm not going to use it here. I just wanted you guys to see one of the ways that I use it. But simple enough, if you're just going to use your hands, you can do basically the same thing. So all I'm doing here is I'm going to go in and look at, what I want to take out. I can see there's a scar above her eye, and I see a few other things that, I may want to address. So if you see here, there's a little scar that's right above her eye and some flyaway hairs. So I don't want to spend a ton of time on an image like this. You just want to get in here and get this done as quick as possible, yet staying precise. So I'm just going to go in here and start taking out some of these flyaway hairs. I know you guys have seen me do this many times. You just want to take your time, take little small swipes, and you don't have to take all of these out. You just want to take out the ones that are distractive. Just going to create a cleaner look. Like this one right here is like huge, right? But if I'd have been more, if I'd had shown more attention and I was shooting tethered when I'd done this, I would have saw these images, and I would have saw a lot of these flyaways, and maybe tried to do some adjustments at that point to prevent this from happening. But like in all things, even if you can't get it right exactly when you want to, there's always a technique to fix it. So we're just going to go in here and just clean up a few little things. I see some things in the makeup. I don't want this to be a hour-long live, because my goal here is to convert this into a black and white. But even converting it into a black and white, you still want to go in and do your touch-ups, because a lot of times when you convert to black and white, imperfections are going to stand out even more because of the lack of color. So a lot of these little things, frequency separation will catch a lot of this stuff, but if you want to go ahead and just take some of them out, you can. And I'm just using, the spot healing brush. You can do this exact same thing in Affinity Photo and a number of other Photoshop-like applications. So this is not exclusive to Photoshop, to be able to go in and do these little touch-ups. And I know a lot of you are not using Photoshop, or you're using something that's similar like Infinity Photo. So I just want you guys to be clear that you can do these exact same touch-ups. And I'm just kind of rushing through it, but you get the idea. And you can zoom in as close as you need to if you see something that is just really becoming a problem. You may even have to switch tools to go to something like a clone stamp or something like that. Now, you guys who are doing boudoir and doing fitness and things like that, the underarms is definitely a part of the body that you want to definitely take time with. Most women that shave, they're going to have some scarring, they're going to have some discoloration. If they're not applying makeup, I do not recommend that your client apply makeup under their arms, because that'll have the opposite effect a lot of times in the shoot. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to go in and just, take some of these little imperfections out yourself. And one of the things that I do a lot, and I used to get in trouble for it, with people who were assisting me, because they would complain about the fact that I would edit so fast and I would do these quick edits to show a client, and they're like, wow, we're not going to be able to, upsell them on the advanced editing because they see how fast you can do it. Well, it's not about how fast I can do it. It's about being efficient at what I do. So, if you have a client that's, saying, oh, well, if it only took you a few seconds to do that, I don't think I should pay you a certain amount for that. Well, that's what they're paying for. They're paying for your experience. So whether it would take someone an hour to do the same thing or it takes them, 30 seconds, it doesn't make a difference. You're still, hiring someone to do a job that obviously you couldn't do yourself, but, you want to keep it in a positive, stay in the positives, guys. So, we'll do a whole, group of videos on marketing and selling your services and things like that. So I'm down here at the legs. I don't see anything that's a big deal. The shape of the body looks okay. I have to be careful with this photo because I don't want to nip slip and, get in trouble on YouTube. But anyway, so that's good. So we're just going to go ahead and run our frequency separation. Actually, I'm going to do it a different way. So I'm going to remove these two layers. And this is still our touch-up layer. I'm going to duplicate this layer again so we have that touch-up layer separate. And then we're going to run our frequency separation on this layer here. Let's bring that down. Just right about where you really start to see the imperfections and it start to blur it out. Now, I mean, you can take this a little bit higher if you want to get kind of that really, creamy, blurry skin. But if you want to maintain any textures, you have to take that into consideration too, because it's going to somewhat balance it out. So, okay, I don't know what just happened there. So let's, probably because I stopped the action from running. So let's just do that again. And if you run into problems like what just happened here, so which is a good example, you can go to your history and you can go back and you can find wherever it was that you were last. So like if this is where I was last, where I created a copy, I could go back to that layer or to that action and then start from there instead of having to go all the way back. This, the problem that I just showed you guys is because of something I did because I stopped the action from running. So that's what created that problem. But here's our copy layer. So let's see if it does it again. Hopefully it won't, but we're going to run that again. That was, I think, about 9. So when you see a lot of these people doing videos and, they're edited to death, and they make it look like, everything is just so easy. All I have to do is just click on this and click on that. We all make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. That's just a part of learning and creating. I know people who are artists that will tell me, they'll spend, forever trying to get a portrait right when they're painting something. And they have started over so many times just because they just couldn't get the right effect they were looking for. So where we are here, what I'm going to do here, since we have our helper layer, and actually I'm going to move this out above the frequency separation. I want it to be above it. Okay, so now we're just going to go down to our lower layer, and we're still going to do the same things we normally do before. So we don't miss any steps. So we're still using our mixer brush to go in and mix. And then let me turn on. Okay. So I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. So basically, even with the iPad, all I'm doing here, because I already have the mixer brush selected, that's exactly what tool is going to be used on the iPad. So I can go in here and just really just start, mixing these colors. Just to get, clean up the skin color a little bit. Now, I think the pen size might be a little large. But like I said, that's one of the things that if you're working with a regular tablet, you're not going to really run into those problems because most of the time you're able to control your brush sizes and things like that. And you can do that also on the iPad, but it's a little trickier than it would be to do it on, say, like a Wacom tablet or one of the other tablets that are out there. And there's a ton of them. I was on Amazon the other morning, and I was looking at different tablets. And I have a bamboo or whatever it's called. It's like really old. I bought it at Micro Center way back in the day, and I never really got into it. I just never adopted, that type of workflow. But I do see the benefits of it now. So if you guys can invest in it, I suggest, getting a tablet. And you can get them. I've seen tablets with no frills as low as $30. So if you don't have an iPad already, you can get one of these drawing tablets, like I said, for about $30 or $50, and it will increase your workflow. I see a little problem there. But I'm just going to run through this really quick. I'm just trying to blend her skin. I'm sure there's retouchers out there looking at this going, oh my God, dude, you're all over the place. Yeah, I am. I'm just trying to soften the skin. I'm not really trying to do like dodging and burning and a lot of that, which you can do. And I mean, in most of my images, I always do a little bit of dodging and burning, just to add a little bit more detail to the image. But at the same time, for a lot of these images, you really don't need all of that. If you're just creating something for a client, they just want to look good. They want to look like they had their best day ever at your photo shoot. And if you can achieve that, you'll have a client for life. And they will always come back. I've had so many clients that are repeat clients that come back like year after year and update photos they've done. I've had boudoir, clients that I've shot with 3 and 4 and 5 different times. So yeah, it can happen. You just have to be serious about what you're doing and install that confidence in your client. And if they're confident and happy at the end of the day, and I mean, that's a part of your marketing as well. Like I said before, the key to a lot of this stuff is educating them, encouraging them to tell their friends. Now boudoir, you're not going to get a lot of people sending out a ton of their boudoir photos to like all of their friends or something like that, But if it's glamour that you're doing, you got a much better chance. Or, portraits or family portraits or modeling type stuff, you got a better chance of them showing it to a bunch of people. Okay, so I'm going to turn off this black and white layer. And we're going to see the color. So let's go down, option, click. So we see the before and we see the after. I still see a few areas that I could probably spend a little bit more time in. But, for the sake of this live, I'm not going to take it that much further. Okay, so far we have, an image that we're happy with. So we say, okay, that's great. We can get rid of this helper layer. We don't need that anymore. So just delete that. And then what we do want to do is create a stamp layer of everything that we've done so far. So on a Mac, that's going to be Shift, Option, Command, E, and it's going to create your stamp layer, which is this layer. So this layer is everything that's below it on one layer. So what I mentioned before is that, I wanted to create a black and white. You can take one image and turn it into multiple images. So what I mean by that is, because you're shooting in such high resolution with a lot of your photos, you could crop in to say just that. And that's one image by itself. Then you could go and crop in here, and that's a second image. Let's say you're creating a book as an example, right? So the key to a lot of it is thinking about how you want the final image to look. So for instance, let's say we zoom all the way out on this image. And we want to get just the curvature of her body as an example. Let's zoom out a little bit more. And you could crop that to just that shape. And that's an image by itself. So, like in a lot of things, you're only limited by your imagination. So that's possibly 4 different images that you could have achieved from just one photo. And if you're shooting raw, that's going to give you that full flexibility to be able to do that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop this just about to the waist. So we're going to show, so I'm going to crop this all the way down to about there. I'll still bring it in. I want to give it a little bit of room on the other side because I'm thinking about it from a book perspective if you're creating a book for a client, right? So we're just going to go ahead and save that as it is. Okay, so now there's the shape that we want to go with. We could do something here with some of these hairs. We could either take it out completely or even this ribbon over here. That would probably drive me insane, so I probably would take that out. I'm doing it the fast way, but guys, spend a little bit more time, go in and look and make sure that your colors are right and you don't have something blotchy there that remains. But you could go in and take that out easily enough. You could do the same thing with the hair. Hair can be a little tricky, so you really have to go in and maybe even use your pen tool to go in and select that area and then just do content aware and delete that. Or, obviously you could just crop it a different way. But our goal here is to create this creative black and white. So I'd mentioned before that there's a number of different panels that I use. But even if you don't have access to these panels, there is a gazillion actions out there for creating black and white. So a lot of these, like I said, these panels have it. You also have it built into Photoshop as well, the ability to create a basic black and white. But what I've been using a lot, if I use my filters, is I will use Luminar. And I will just go into Luminar and pick a base black and white. Now I also have the NYX collection that has a really good black and white plugin. But it really just depends on what it is you're trying to do. Remember, at the same time, you want to create something that's going to be printable. So if your clients are planning on printing these images, make sure your colors are right. So I'm going to go, I'm just going to choose what the program is offering me. So I'm going to go here and choose a black and white. Nope, I'm not liking that. That one either. No, I'm not really liking any of these. They don't seem to be giving me what I'm looking for. So let's see what else we have here that we could work with. Experimental, has some cool things that you can do, but I want black and white. So we're going to leave Affinity Photo. We're going to leave Luminar, AI. My system's running a little slow today because I got so many different things running in the background. So it went ahead and created that, but I don't want it, so I'm just going to step back. I'm just showing you different options, for the same effect. But for some reason, I think my computer's just running ridiculously slow right now. So I'm going to go over to my layers. And just before Luminar, Okay, so now we're back to color. So I'm going to go ahead and use this panel. This is from Affinity, and it's basically a black and white panel, but it's just a random generator. So you have light, medium, and intense. So I'm just going to run this on the intense level for this one and just see what it comes up with. I'm just going to keep running it until I see something that I like. So many of these, to me, just seem, they're not strong enough. But now what you can do is you can create this, and then you can, adjust your hue and saturation and your curves. So you could go in here, and let's say you want to bring those curves down more. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Say, okay, that's good. Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to create a stamp layer from this, and I see something that I want to fix real quick. So I want to go into liquify and kind of adjust her body and her curvature just a little bit. So I'm going to open this in liquify real fast. I'm just going to add just a little bit more curvature to her back. And I'm going to straighten out the tummy just a little bit. Okay, that works. So when I create an image like this, I'm using this kind of like a placeholder. It's going to be somewhere in the book where, for instance, maybe she has a poem or something that she's written to her significant other. And then that's what we're going to do. So we're going to add that text for the book, here. And then what you can do with that is you can use your path tool, and you can have the text kind of follow along the shape of the body or something like that, just so you'd have that creative aspect of creating that book. But like I said, guys, you're only limited by your imagination. Now, another thing that I have a tendency to do a lot is that once I've completed the image and I said, okay, I like this, but then I want to see what it would look like if it was reversed. So I'll go up to Edit. So we can go up here to Image. And we want to rotate this image, basically. We want to flip it. So I just flipped it horizontally. So then that allows us to put the text on either side. It just depends on how you're designing your book. So you're not limited to exactly what you captured. You can always flip it one direction or another. Or you could even mirror these if you wanted to, by selecting it and then copying it and adding it to another document. And you could have like bookends where you'd have her on both sides of it, and then the text could kind of follow along in the middle or something like that for one of your center pages. So, just think about it from that perspective that, you're creating, something that a person is going to cherish, for the rest of their lives. So you want to be able to, give them exactly what they're looking for. So regardless if it's going to be, a really close-up, headshot style shot, or it's just going to be the curvature of the body or half the body or something like that, you have the ability to make suggestions. And a lot of times, because, these people are not artists, they will go along with whatever you show them as long as you're confident in what you're saying. So even something like this could be just, the same thing I showed you before. Let's crop that a little bit better. So that would be, in one of the pages, or this could be in the center of the page. And what you could do is you could do this twice, and it would be on either side of the page of the book. And then you could have text on this side, and you could have text on that side, and that would put her right along the split there in the pages of the book, But I'm just kind of like rambling right now, but you guys get the idea. So hopefully, you're learning something, from these lives. And if you are, great. If you guys have any questions, anything you want to ask, if you're still watching. Okay, if not, then I'm going to go ahead and bring this live to an end. I'm going to leave the chat up for a while. So if you guys, have any questions, or I will watch it for, a few minutes. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those. So if not, I will catch you guys on my regular scheduled lives, which will be the next live here on YouTube will be Saturday, I believe, because I'm supposed to go live on Facebook tomorrow. So we shall see. But I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the chat. So if you guys have any questions, I'll just leave that up for a little bit and I'll monitor it. And then that way, if you have anything you want to ask, you feel free to do so. All right, guys, I will catch you guys in the next video. Make sure to stay safe, wash your hands, take care of your loved ones, and I'll see you Saturday. Okay, Russell, this is for you. You asked that question before, so let me tell you. I'm sorry if I didn't answer it the first time. So my the wet on the mixer brush, I have it set to 8. My load, I have it set to 75. The mix is 90. And right now on here, my flow is 96. But that may vary. A lot of people like to keep their flow at 100. And their wet, they'll have it down sometimes as low as like 1 or 2%, something like that, 1%, 2%. But it just varies. I vary mine back and forth depending on how fast I want to work. But anywhere between 2 and 10% on the wet should be okay. But just starting out, I would keep it right around, start with 5. And then your load at 75, your mixed at 90, and then your flow at 100. Does that answer your question? Cool.